Have you ever wondered how companies like Games Workshop come up with official paint schemes for their armies? I certainly have, and that's something we want to explore today by making our own. So today we're going to be developing the official paint schemes for the Kindred of the Abyss and exploring how to make paint schemes of your own. So we've got to do some brainstorming, and to help that, Alicia, our artist, has made a really cool coloring guide. So let's get started. It's tabletop time. And this video is sponsored by Arc-Villain Games. Let's dive into kind of brainstorming some colors. And we're gonna use Jazz's prototype color quest markers and see how good they are, so haha. So we wanna make 6 sub-factions, and broadly they'll be categorized into the 3 sub-types of kindred societies. There's the deep cities, there's the riggers, and then there's the sub-parks. So
Sub-parks and shipwrecks?
I don't get it. I didn't get it.
Not cultured.
Oh, parks and recreation.
Yeah, Adam Scott.
So we've drawn out a bunch of concepts. It's time to pick which ones we like. So I'm gonna say, Murray, pick your 3 favorites. All you gotta do, unbiased, pick 3. Not based on the quality of the coloring in, rate it purely based on an army's paint scheme.
This one?
Okay.
I'm gonna vote for myself because for some reason that one really just worked for me.
Immediately, this one.
Okay. Number 7.
There's something about like the diver's skin, the tan sort of leathery.
It's the classic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This guy?
This one?
Okay.
Ooh. I really like your Hazard Workman's Tradie Riggers one.
The sort of high
it's
vis guy.
Really vibrant.
2.
Number 1.
I'm drawn to these. I feel like this feels a little more right than the silvery.
This guy?
My third pick will probably be the dark red. That one.
Okay. All right. Number 9. 2 number 9s.
Some of them I'm like instantly, nah.
What's one you instantly not on?
That one,
Yep.
this one, that one. And then the rest I'm like,
Because I want to pick that one.
Then just pick it.
Then I also like this one.
Tell you what, you're the artist, you can get an extra vote.
All right, those 2.
Okay, so you're gonna go with number 5 and number 3.
Hell yeah.
I really like these 2 because this one's really different, and I think this also is different, but it's kind of unique. Like, it looks pretty, and I like pretty things.
So my third choice would have to be this one.
Very good.
I like the contrast. I think with all of them, I've been kind of looking for dark areas and light areas to like sort of contrast.
We have all the votes, so that's it. We're going to be, these are going to inform our choices for the like official Kindred paint schemes. All right, I'll tally the votes. The most popular one was actually the Navy style Kindred. Second most popular with 4 votes was the OG. It's just the classic, so of course. Third most popular with 3 votes.
Hey!
This interesting corally one. So then we had 2 that got 2 votes each. The riggers, and then this one. And then I'm just gonna stick this one in there because Alicia's already done all of it. Yay! So now that we have a bunch of ideas, we need to transfer those ideas onto models and see if they actually work in the physical medium. We're all gonna have a little bit of a dabble, and then when we've picked our favorite one, we're gonna focus on that as our studio army. That will be the main poster child in much the same way as the Ultramarines are for Space Marines. Now, these nautical Kindred of the Abyss societies are split into 3 main groups or types of cities. We have the deep cities, which are these sprawling underwater metropolises, the ones that have fared the best since the awful cataclysm that turned our world into a post-apocalyptic disaster. The second type of cities are called rig cities or rigger cultures. These cities are ones where early in the development, they were forced to return to the rigs or flotillas that they were using to build their underwater cities and have kind of existed there halfway between ever since. Think of like Kevin Costner in Waterworld. And the third types are submarine parks. These are basically trailer parks, but underwater. They're the newest cities to form in Kindred societies, made up of raiders or holiday vacationers who just want to go check out a coral reef. And the first of these cities is Defiance. These are a city of riggers that have a heavy Navy military theme running through them. Originally running into strife right before the Cataclysm, a whole flotilla of Navy rescue vessels came to their assistance, and then everything went dark and they had to band together. And that thread of Navy tradition has continued all the way through to the future. They have this quite clean navy blue and white armor vibe, and also some of the more reasonable but still quite insane of the kindred. In the actual paint scheme, that white and blue is really easy to establish. You use deep navy blues to establish the colors, and then simple browns to accent his boots and the leather elements. Now the armor itself on these kindred is interesting because it's kind of painted like a nautical white. And I imagine this will also be the color of the ships themselves, like the land sub. And yeah, it's kind of like a gray to white highlight. So it should look a bit like a US Navy vessel, maybe a few shades brighter than that. But overall, it should have a nice military look when the armor is inverted. And that's super easy to do. I just paint it in a light gray and then put a very thinned out wash of contrast paint on it in this model, which sinks down into all the recesses, and then you just roughly highlight with white. Nice and simple. Now, one of the reasons I went for this scheme is because it's going to look so good on the sailor suits held by the light infantry, but I'm really happy with how it's turned out on the diver as well. It definitely represents a polar opposite to most of the divers. It's fairly clean, colorful, and non-threatening or gloomy take on the Kindred of the Abyss, but I do think it's important to offer a bit of that light and shade, even in our faction that's pretty grim and miserable. So next, representing a very different take on Kindred life, we have Dappled Fields. Yes, the naming conventions for the Kindred of the Abyss are of course how they see their society. They're not going to name their cities Villain Lair 5, and they have quite a positive view of their impact on the world. Dappled Fields is one of the sub-parks, and one of the newer established Kindred societies. It has been built up by enterprising capitalists who wanted to take advantage of beautiful resurgent coral reefs in much shallower water than the Kindred typically occupy. They consider this their nautical birthright, and it's a little bit of a vacation spot. But don't let that fool you, they're plenty deadly, using their access to coral, sea snakes, and venomous creatures to basically become one of the prime locations for Kindred toxins and poison development. And Murray is going to take this color scheme from our imaginations and put it on a model.
So starting with the core painting philosophy of painting from the inside out, I'm going to start painting all the clothes before the metal, which usually you do the messy metal first, but I want to start with all the hard to reach into areas, so clothes it is. And for that, I'm going to start with very dark, desaturated, almost gray blues. And then I'll start building my way up to lighter blues. And then for the metal itself, I went for a sort of a coppery look on this metal rather than a flat gold. And then I'm going to start putting washes, browns, greens, all these things that will really weather the metal and give it slight tarnish characteristics. This will add a lot of weathering to the metal, but also a lot of coloring characteristic that'll help it stand out. And while I'm there doing that weathering, I'm going to apply all those washes onto the silver of the blade and all sorts of buckles, just to really add that in as well. If you're going to make something look grimy, make sure all of it is sort of uniformly grimy. As this guy has been wading through the water, it's all going to be on him. It's not just going to be on his toes because he stepped in a puddle. He's in the biggest puddle, the ocean. And then for the finishing touch, don't really have a logo or an insignia for this particular faction. We're just working on colors first, but we've got the patches here, so I decided to just throw an anchor and a simple squad numeral on the other side. And then it's time for painting the eyes. I'm going to go for a really nice, vibrant, vivid green, nice and acidic, that will stand out and make him look very eerie indeed. I'm going to throw some texture paste onto the base. It's just a simple sterling mud. I'm going to move that around, get it nice and lumpy, and then I'll throw down some flock that looks like it wouldn't look too out of place as seagrass. And then we have him. I am actually incredibly pleased with this. This came out really well. I love the colors that are at play here. I just like it. I'm so chuffed. I'm just having a little moment here. Time to paint something else. And it's Dave.
So next up, we have another deep city, and this is the City of Endurance. Founded in the early days as a test of what the very limits of Kindred underwater society could attain, Endurance was built under one of the planet's polar ice caps. The unique challenges and harsh environment that they have survived in have created a cold and steely outward look on the world, less likely than most Kindred to even interact with their own kind from other cities. They're vicious polar raiders that spend half of the year relatively quietly as they enjoy the bounty of marine life that migrates to the poles, but in the other half of the year, when that life moves elsewhere, they follow, heading onto the lands and raiding innocent populations and bringing them back for meat. And that long tradition makes denizens of endurance some of the proudest and most effective hunters in kindred societies. And Jen came up with this color scheme, so she is going to tackle painting them.
Now, when we talked about the history and the lore behind this particular paint scheme, we knew we wanted to include Antarctica or the Arctic as a broad theme for a particular paint scheme, and this one actually works really well. I think the black kind of lend to the evilness or the deep sea that can be underneath the Arctic, but also kind of that silvery white to reflect the, well, snow. So I opted for the massive fish sword and his other hand to just be free. I think out of all the options, the giant fish knife just made a lot of sense to me, so I went with this option. I then undercoated him with a Vallejo white spray, and we could start our painting journey. Getting those base tones in, I used a contrast paint for all of the black undersuit, and then moved on to the metals. Now in my head, I pictured this as a sort of greeny toned metallic rather than just a pure silver. So I mixed a tiny bit of a green contrast paint in with my metallic silver just to give it that little bit of a green sheen. And I applied this over all the areas that would be metallic. And with the base coats down, I was actually really happy with how this was looking, and it was super easy to paint. All I needed to do now was add in some of those line highlights, his suit just working up into lighter shades of gray, and then all the metallics up into a brighter silver. Also can't forget about those creepy eye lenses, painting them in with a deep red and working my way up to a bright red. And of course that little white highlight up in the top corner to make the lens look nice and shiny. And with that, he's basically all done. I put a little bit of texture paste on the base just to make him look a bit more like he's in an environment, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think this is really simple and really fast, so if you're painting an army of these guys, even if that's just a couple of units, this was a really quick but effective paint scheme that you could also try for yourself if you like. But now my one is all done. Let's go ahead and see what the boys are up to.
If you need the ultimate scenery for your next game, we would like to present to you Taranwith, the first Kickstarter from Arc Villain Games Digital. From glorious towers to these amazing, highly detailed villages that are sculpted by a team of absolute experts in the industry. It includes props, you can take the roofs off, you can play inside and out, so it's perfect for your wargaming or for D&D and role-playing games. I'm so glad I can finally call myself a homeowner, because I backed the Taranwith campaign.
And I'm miniature.
Arc Villain are known for making stunning sculpts for your tabletop games, so these will add a great boost to your next campaign. Some of these pieces of terrain are huge! There are multiple pledge levels, so you can find exactly what suits you best. The higher your pledge, the greater the discount you get off the total bundle. They are promising the files within 3 months of campaign completion, which means you don't have to wait long to get the things you back. We're going to be using some of ours to represent the towns around the kindred that have been rebuilt by the locals. So to get amazing value of up to 60% off these files, make sure to go to the Kickstarter and really level up the terrain you've been playing with. Go check out the links in the description to see more. So our 3 color schemes so far have established a rig city, a sub park, and a deep city, but it's time to look at our poster children. So the city is the first founded by the kindred and the oldest in their society, and also the most populous. It is called New Liberty, and it represented all of the hopes and dreams of the people that originally colonized the kindred cities hundreds of years before our world is set. New Liberty is overcrowded. Despite suffering the same genetic abnormalities and difficulty with breeding that many of the kindred are starting to experience, New Liberty, as the largest capital city, still experiences the greatest amount of migration and the biggest concentration of slaves, subordinates, and kindred family groups. The kindred of New Liberty are fiercely loyal to each other, embodying that idea of kindred through and through. Families have open door policies and kids run between them freely, but under the surface of this lovely familial home is a deep and disturbing xenophobia and a view that anyone who isn't kindred is an animal, subhuman, and not deserving of life. These are some of the most vicious and nasty kindred to everyone else, and yet some of the kindest and sweetest to those they call family. So unlike the other 3, we're going to be starting our studio army, and that means we're going to be painting a squad of kindred scourges, as well as a malformed bruiser to go alongside them. And finally, a submersible wreck crawler, our newest stretch goal, which has just gone out to anyone who backed the campaign. And of course, we are so excited to paint our very own one up to match the New Liberty paint scheme. But it's going to take the expertise of Murray to see if this paint job can translate from paper onto a model.
Now, my personal first thought when it comes to replicating some sort of official art, whether it's our own or something from an existing IP or codex or something, is how can I achieve that mood, that vibe? Not necessarily that color, but that feel, that aesthetic. They have this very nice khaki undercloth. So I thought, hey, if they're all white, I can give them a nice contrast and work up the layers from there and really unify it all together. So I'm gonna run with that and see where it takes me. Metals are also fun to experiment with because you can influence their appearance a lot using washes, glazes, even the way you apply them, whether it's stippling, overbrushing, or just standard base coating. Effectively, you can mess around with them a lot. And so what I'm gonna just do here is basically take this artwork and see how realistic it is to apply with paint here. However, the first thing I feel is that as I'm applying this very strong gold here, maybe it's a bit much. It's very shiny, very regal, which I don't think is gonna gel well with the aesthetic of the Kindred here. They should be a lot murkier, a lot more dank, and not in the fun youth way. So now the first thing I'm gonna do is go for a much darker color, aiming for a literal brass rather than a gold here. And then I'll poke and tweak with shades as we go. The lens is going to be a nice glowing red color, so I'll make sure that they also spill onto the surrounding metal to give that really creepy glowing effect. I'm going to highlight with more silvers and then give it some washes of green just to really stress the age and the weathering on this metal.
So I'm going to be taking the paint scheme that Murray has done and painting it on a malformed, and we're going to see what it's like to sort of translate Murray's paint job onto something else, but it's going to be done by me. Because it's really important that if we come up with paint schemes, we want you guys to be able to follow along and get similar results. So let's do it. So while Murray was doing the classic Kindred of the Abyss paint scheme on just the normal troops, I got my hands on the big malformed and started painting this guy up in the same paint scheme. I'm gonna take a look at what this would look like on a malformed. And I really do like this guy aesthetically, and also, again, because he's large, makes it really easy to get into all the little nooks and crannies. And this guy has a ton of brass metallic on him. That being said, the way that everything is sectioned up and layered makes it really nice and not too cluttered, so the metallic colors could be layered in between each other. It really helped doing the metallics first, even though typically I would like to paint the undersuit first and then work my way up. But because this guy was wearing so much armor, it made a lot of sense to paint all this stuff in first. And then I washed it down with snakebite leather, and this step really ties everything in together. Washing down the metallics with this color just gave it this like grungy, dirty sort of look and added a little bit more depth into those metallics, which were clearly the highlight of this model. I then went ahead and line highlighted all of the metallic areas, and just made all those little elements that you can see on this guy pop just a little bit more, which may have gotten lost before in the sea of metallic. Blue being a contrasting color to yellow just adds this little bit of pop, and it gives it a more deep and gloomy feel to it. I can't describe why I like this technique so much, but I just feel like it gives these guys a really gloomy and dark look, and even adds a little bit of texture. Again, can't forget those creepy eye lenses, adding in my various red tones, and of course finishing it all up with a nice icy blue base and that black trim just to make it complete. So that's pretty much it for this paint scheme, so let's go ahead and see what Dave is up to.
So the submersible wreck crawler, what is it? What is this crab tank we keep talking about? Well, while Murray paints it up in basically the same scheme we've used for the previous New Liberty models, I thought I'd tell you all a little bit about it because we're really excited about our vehicles. We think they look amazing. Sculpted by Jackson Jewell from Golden Dragon Games, he's done such a good job making them feel sort of realistic, which is impressive to do for a submarine attached to some crab legs. So submersible wreck crawlers are converted submarines, initially built as deep water exploration submarines. Their design has changed over the centuries to encompass a more military role. The submarines are unique in that they attach onto these land-based crawler rigs, hence wreck crawler, allowing them to get better purchase on the seafloor, as well as perform significant operations such as mining, digging, and salvage, which is one of the primary reasons they've been used. After the cataclysm, a huge amount of nautical resources, vessels, and even aircraft were all destroyed and sank to the bottom of the sea, and the Kindred have spent the intervening centuries taking as much advantage of that as possible. Occasionally even finding unsullied cargo containers full of ancient and powerful technology that had been lost to the service world. Wreck crawlers form the backbone of kindred fleets, and these small 3-person craft are seen everywhere and used extensively. We're really excited that we are getting cutaway art done of this, and I can't wait to share it with you. It's like a isometric cross-section showing all the engineering. It's gonna be super cool. But as you can see, the wreck crawler comes together so well. Oh, and by the way, there's an alternate you can print where you can just use a flying stand. So if you just wanna play in your own universe where they're underwater, or you wanna pose them, or you wanna use them like that, that's something you can do too, which is really cool. There's a bunch of options. Anyway, as you can tell, we're so excited about this stuff, but we need to see it all together. So it's time to check out some reveals. So you hear it in every single YouTube channel. If you'd like to support us, the best way to do it is to join our Patreon. Every contribution made by our patrons directly supports us and helps us to continue to produce the entertaining content that we put out every week for your eyeballs.
Yeah, it got us close enough to actually starting this Kickstarter. This all came about because of patrons letting us start this.
So if you'd like to be in on the journey,
Get in on that journey.
So join in on the journey over at our Patreon. Join the mini club Discord where we often share sneak peeks, hang out, chat, talk about whips, all kinds of things. The links are down in the description. And we really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
It's a big Indiana Jones fan club. Lots of whips.
So if you like that awesome detailed hut that we created for our reveals, you can get it by following the link in the description and going to our landing page for Arc Villain's Tarrenwith campaign. That hut, another hut, and over 5 detailed miniatures will be available completely free. All you have to do is sign up to the mailing list. So thanks again to Arc Villain for sponsoring this video. Go check out the Tarrenwith campaign and make sure to get those free minis by signing up through the landing page below. This has been such a unique journey. The first time we've ever had to make like an official paint scheme for something, it's surreal.
Yeah, it's sort of something we always, I guess, dreamed of doing, and now we sort of just did it.
You having fun playing with that?
He's really cool. He fits in palm of your hand.
It's such a cool model. I'm really glad, Jackson's done such a great job. This army is really coming together. I can't wait to share more of the lore with you all. I think people are genuinely going to be surprised with how much we're trying to put into this. The PDF that we're putting together is going to hopefully, fingers crossed, feel a lot like back when you were young and you were picking up your first classic codex and, you know, pouring through the lore and getting excited about things. So we're really trying to put something special together. We hope you've enjoyed this journey. Let us know which of the color schemes is your favorite of the ones we've shown. There's more. There's actually more, but you know, we'll develop some more later down the line.
Yeah, and we've already seen some of the schemes just come up with by our community on the Discord and such, which is super cool to see. And if you want to get in on that, tag us and we'll check that out.
If you want to come up with your own scheme for your kindred as well, we'll pop the link down below.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be a link to a Backer Kit update post, but you can just save the file from there. All right, we'll see you in the next video.
He smells like lemons.
Stop sniffing the model.
It's because you put it on top of the bloody cleaner wipes that smell like lemon.
Oh, really? Oh, he's a lemon. He's a lemon crab.
He sounds like he's a lemon crab.
I like lemons.
White dude, 1985, white guy. If I could be anybody, dead or alive, I would be my dad in 1985.